Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are looking at a chapter that absolutely redefines the stakes for our heroes. The dramatic tension right now is just way too good to spoil with a traditional agenda, so we're going to skip all that and just jump straight into the fire.
I want you to keep this one question in the back of your mind as we go through today's analysis. What actually happens when the world's most ambitious pirate crew goes up against a literally immortal threat? It's one thing to fight a super powerful enemy, right? But it's another thing entirely when that enemy simply cannot be killed, and every single attack you throw at them just drains your own stamina. The stakes here are incredibly high, and the consequences, well, as you'll see, they're permanently life-altering.
All right, Section 1, The Legend of One Piece. Setting the stage.
Now, you guys probably already know the deal, but to really feel the weight of Chapter 1, 1991, we have to recognize the sheer, massive scale of the world these characters are fighting in. The Straw Hats are out there navigating the Grand Line, which is pretty much the most unpredictable ocean in existence, all while chasing the ultimate title of Pirate King. But it's not just rival pirate crews standing in their way anymore. They've got the oppressive world government, the insane escalating clashes of Haki, and the erased history of the Void Century just constantly bearing down on them. And threading all of this wild lore together? Devil fruits. We've all seen how Luffy's gum fruit powers his mind-bending combat, right? In this universe, battles aren't just your standard sword fights. They are colossal, physics-breaking clashes that push the physical limits of literally everyone involved.
Moving on to Section 2, Danger in the Sun Realm, Chapter 1191.
So let's zoom right into the main event, the micro-level crisis unfolding in this exact chapter. We actually open with this deceptively peaceful, kind of whimsical scene at the basement rear entrance of the Owl Library. You've got Chopper and Robin, and they're just trying to communicate with this giant bespectacled owl named Biblo to make sure the library's precious books are safe. It's a quiet, bizarre, magical little moment. But you know how it goes on the Grand Line. Peace is usually just the deep breath you take right before everything completely explodes.
And explode it does. Out of nowhere, this horrifying, shadowy entity just rises up, ominously muttering about dealing with things along with rocks back then. Its sheer presence is honestly suffocating. Without missing a beat, it unleashes this sprawling, devastating attack called Honebongi. The whole landscape is just torn apart, throwing the Straw Hats and their giant allies entirely on the defensive against an enemy that seems to just effortlessly absorb every single hit.
Which brings us to Section 3. A warrior's ultimate sacrifice. Okay, I want to slow down the pacing right here because we are entering the real, visceral core of this battle. This right here is where the cost of ambition is paid in blood. In response to that shadow entity, the giant warrior Hajiruden steps up to the plate, launching this massively forceful Gungnir attack. The visual scale here is incredible. The sheer ferocity of a giant pouring every ounce of his immense physical power into a single, desperate strike to protect his allies, it's just stunning to witness. But here is the harsh reality. In high-stakes battles against immortal threats, powerful attacks are rarely enough on their own. And stepping up to the absolute front lines, it comes with horrific, irreversible consequences. As the smoke clears from that clash, the shocking reality of it sets in. Hajiruden, this proud, towering warrior we've come to know, has permanently lost his left arm. It's just completely gone. The crew is horrified. Someone actually yells out, "But this guy's immortal. I can't see a way of us winning this." And you can feel the sheer, suffocating desperation of the situation take hold. They are fighting an enemy that literally doesn't take damage, and they are losing limbs just trying to hold the line. But this is exactly what makes this story so compelling. It's not just about the tragedy of the loss, it's about the response to it. When his allies are urging him to fall back and consider his own life, Hajiruden roars this incredibly defining quote, "A true warrior is always resolved to die in battle." Man, what a heart-wrenching, defiant display of resolve. He is mutilated, he is actively bleeding out, and his only thought is how he can keep fighting. And that kind of unbreakable spirit, it's totally contagious. Look at our captain, Luffy. He's heavily wounded, looking completely exhausted and battered. But does he stay down? No way. He yells, "I'm gonna recover now. I ate a lot. I can make it happen." It's this beautifully reckless determination that perfectly captures the indomitable will of the Straw Hat crew. No matter how powerful or immoral the threat is, these guys just do not possess a surrender gear. All right, Section 4, The Arrival of Loki. So back to Hajiruden, because sheer willpower can only take you so far when you're literally bleeding out on the battlefield, right? And the tension is about to ramp up to the absolute maximum.
Despite his life-threatening injury, Hadrian actually winds back his one remaining arm for another strike. His allies are screaming at him to fall back, to live to fight another day, but he flat-out refuses to bend the knee. It's the ultimate display of Elbaf's pride. And it's terrifying, because if this next attack fails, he is almost certainly going to die.
And the worst part? The enemy knows it too. Notice the horrifying arrogance of the shadow entity here? It's just floating above all this destruction, completely unscathed, and it taunts him. With only an arm lost. How impressive. It then cruelly declares, this next attack will leave nothing behind. The villain is literally prepping a final obliterating move meant to wipe out the giant and the rest of the crew entirely. At this point, it looks like the absolute end of the road.
But then, just as all hope seems completely lost, this devastating Gokuku's sovereignty counterattack shatters the battlefield. Emerging from the dust, announced by the absolute shock of the onlookers, is a massive game-changing reveal. Loki is here. The dynamic of this entire war zone shifts in a single fraction of a second as this counterstrike collides with the shadow entity. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, leaving us on a staggering cliffhanger. The battlefield is in absolute ruins. Hadrian is maimed. The shadow entity appears totally impossible to kill, and now the enigmatic Loki has dramatically entered the fray. So I leave you with this final thought. When unbreakable willpower meets true immortality, and new, incredibly powerful players enter the board, how can the Straw Hats possibly survive the fallout? It's an absolute masterclass in tension, and I don't know about you, but I seriously cannot wait to see what happens next. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this unbelievable chapter. Keep exploring, keep questioning.